Hi, Russell. Always good to see you.
How you doing?
I'm very good. And the last times we only had these virtual things. One day we do it face to face again, right?
You never know. I'm not a big fan of traveling for press, though.
I understand you. And I'm so glad, to be honest, also that I can do it from home.
Yeah.
Because it saves a lot of time and flights and stuff. So, Russell, I was super surprised. I didn't even know that the Pope had an exorcist, you
Right.
know. You always learn. I was wondering, how religious are you, and what is your relation with church and religion?
Well, I had the same experience as you. When I read in the script that the man's job was chief exorcist for the Vatican, I thought, oh, did they make that up? And then I looked into it and realized that's an actual job. I suppose in a way that's very naive of me to think that there wouldn't be a job like that, but you know, there was. You know, what compelled me with this film was learning about the man, Father Gabriele Amort, you know, and the actual experiences that he had in his life and the things that he had lived through and what he had pursued, you know. I found him to be endlessly fascinating. I didn't grow up in a religious household or in a particularly religious culture, you know. But, you know, I had my own interests, and when I was like 12 or 13, maybe even, 12 or 13, I basically spent a number of Sundays going from church service to church service to see what it was about, you know, because my parents didn't make me go to church, you know, so I didn't, you know, but I had friends at school that did. So I went to an Anglican service, I went to a Catholic service, had a look, but, you know, it extended beyond that too, because I also looked into Buddhism and Hinduism and the Baha'i faith. I had a good look around, you know, and I do find religions fascinating, but I also find them dangerous, you know. I see religion as man's attempt to explain the inexplicable, you know, but I'm not necessarily one who buys into any form of formalized religion.
Yeah, and if I understood you right from our last talk, we talked about your farm and everything. For you and I see it a little bit the same way. Religion for me is, or when I see something spiritual, it's always in the nature, with animals, with the nature.
Mm-hmm.
There I find myself. Is this the same for you, maybe?
I very definitely feel totally comfortable in nature. That's why I live in the bush in the first place, you know. But you know, I think spirituality exists in many forms, you know, and it's not the sole place of just religious organizations, you know. And I think, you know, sometimes when you put so many rules around something, you actually are attacking the fabric of what it is in the first place. You know, it's just something that we have to come to accept. You know, there are things that happen in our lives that are inexplicable. There are things that happen in our lives of grand coincidence, you know. Is there somebody operating levers to make those things happen? You know, I'm not necessarily sure. But is there something that's available to all of us that takes us to a higher level of understanding? Yeah, I do believe there is.
Yeah, and I also think, Russell, that with, you know, when I get older, I can live much better with unanswered questions, like you say. You know, there is not always an answer for every question.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with age, okay, that's fine. I can live with that, you know. I don't need answers to everything. How is it with you?
Yeah, well, I'm not on any sort of grand search, you know, for my own personal spiritual life, you know. Things, you know, I'm very accepting of people that do have a, you know, a religious life. But for me, I tend to gain sort of spiritual satisfaction out of a lot, out of simpler things.
Mm. And then also, it's the first time for you, and you're so long in the business already, that you are in the genre of horror movies.
Well, not necessarily, though, because if you remember, I did The Mummy with Tom Cruise.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's also right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's this is a different kind of film in that sense, right? I mean, it's really scary. I mean, like, wow.
Yeah, but this film, the thing that I like about it is it's not just focused on trying to scare people. You know, you scratch the surface a little bit. It has a sort of touch of Da Vinci Code. It has a little bit of Indiana Jones. Has a sprinkle of James Bond. And there's a whole bunch of humor in it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that, to me, that was really important, that the experience of the film is entertaining on a number of levels, not just on a singular level.
Absolutely. The humor was super important. So I have my last question, Russell. You are gonna, on 7th of April, if I'm right, you're gonna celebrate your birthday. Are you gonna celebrate, or is it a big thing for you?
Not really. You know, I'm much more interested in celebrating other people's birthdays than my own. I don't like being the center of attention in that way. So usually on my birthdays, I don't do very much. You know.
But it's interesting that an actor says, I don't like to be the center of attention, you know, because you always might think, oh, actors are more used to that, to be in the center.
Yeah, but that's a professional thing. That's a professional thing. That's not necessarily in my own life, you know. I think there's always a large misunderstanding about actors and levels of ego. You know, there's celebrity, you know, there's movie stars, but then there's people who actually just do the job of being an actor, and they play characters, and that's what I do, you know. I mean, a long time ago, the job of acting made me into a movie star, but, you know, I don't live in that place, and I don't expect people to care less about, you know, what I do. What I care about is the job that I'm doing, and what I care about is their experience in the cinema, you know. Me, outside of the job, I'm quite an uninteresting person in reality. You know, I live a very simple life, and probably satisfied with things that might surprise you. You know, sort of, you know, sitting around watching birds fly is pretty cool for me.
That's so nice, and you do your job so well, and you're so inspiring when I talk to you all the time. Thank you so much, Russell. I have to wrap. Enjoy the nature. And
nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Nice talking.
All right.